Hello and welcome to episode 70 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft. Alongside me, we have the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hello.
And we have Dizzy, that's already his nickname, Cooper.
Hola.
And then manning the soundboard / camera / everything else,
Video clip master.
we have Benjamin D. Hankins. The D stands for Undead. That starts with a U.
Why?
You was dead last week. You were dead.
Was I dead last week?
Wait, did I not die last week?
No, we just said you were out of town last week. Yes.
I died last week.
Diz's dad tried to leave him again.
Yeah.
Took
Had
him
to
all the way
chase
out
him
of state
down.
this time.
And we're like, Diz lives several hours away from you. You don't have to leave him anymore.
He still tries,
He
man.
says, it's not far enough.
Yet he keeps driving closer and closer to Martinsville for some reason, pulling your house all the way.
Nah, dude, my parents are real legit. They have been riding motorcycles, like big motorcycles, and they're planning a trip next month to go all the way out to. I think they're going to Wyoming.
Oh, word.
They're not
that
taking old age lightly. They're tackling it.
So do they have their passports?
To Wyoming?
Is that not a foreign country?
Sorry, nah.
I thought you were going to say, my parents go real hard. They haven't talked to me in years.
He's not telling you. His parents are also bow ice fishermen. If you ever tried that sport, it's very good.
Oh. have you, like, all of our parents are on the older side, correct? Like, I have a dad. He's turned 61 at the end of this month.
My dad's like
my dad's
58.
My mom's like mid-40s.
My dad's 32.
Oh yeah, your parent, your mom's pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he was 11.
Your mom probably hasn't done the whole like midlife crisis thing yet, has she?
Not yet.
My dad had a few.
Your dad had like a third life, a quarter life, a midlife, a second midlife. Walk us through some of them.
Oh my gosh.
He owned a sled dog team, right?
Yeah, he owned a sled dog team.
That was awesome.
But it was Beckley, West Virginia.
It was super useful for a month or two at least.
So at one point we had, I don't know, including all the puppies that were born, we probably had like 30 dogs all at once. That was a tough time.
Nice. And outside of that one time where you didn't have enough room to fit all your luggage in the van, so you just went and bought a new one right before going to the beach.
That's so awesome.
Have your parents had a midlife crisis?
Nope.
Ben?
They hate each other.
What?
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh, do they watch?
Nah, they're very loving and wonderful, and they've never had any kind of really crisis, marital or otherwise.
I don't really know if it was a midlife crisis or not, but my dad got super into ham radios over the last few years. But
That's
I think
a little
that's
weird.
just because he was bored.
Is it bad if I've already had a midlife crisis?
I had a quarter life crisis. I quit my job and all kinds of stuff. So
I had a quarter life crisis. I was like, if I don't have a kid now, I'm going to be an old dad. So I made a baby.
being an old dad is awesome.
No.
Can I walk you through this for a minute?
You can.
Let me
but
walk
you're
you
not
through
gonna
this for a
convince
moment.
me.
Because here's the thing. When all your kids' friends start joking you for being like 65 and having like an 8th grader or whatever,
Right.
you can just talk about all of the quote-unquote alone time you and your wife got to have for years and years and just make your kids super uncomfortable. Now, you've only got like a couple years of just, rampant early marriedhood life to drive home to your kids. But
That's 4 solid years. It's pretty good.
yeah, but if you could be like, look, for just 15 years, me and your mom, when their friends are around and stuff.
I don't know about that.
I'm
I
uncomfortable.
don't understand the argument.
What?
Making them uncomfortable.
Yeah, because obviously they're gonna joke and be like, "You got a super old dad," but like Seth's parents are on the older side too. But if they get made fun of, they could just be like, "Think about how much time we had, just us," and make everyone real uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a story for you. When we were in, I think 4th grade, one of our peers had a really old dad. Like, we're in 4th grade, and his dad was, I think,
95.
he was 70 something.
Oh my gosh!
And he was getting picked up from school one day, and the intercom came over, and I'll just say his name is Joseph. I'm not going to give
Because his
real
name was Joseph?
Yeah. He
Will
was
you,
like,
will you whisper his name in my ear?
I will. She was like, yes, Joseph's father is here to pick him up. He was super embarrassed. Like, 4th grader, 70-something-year-old dad.
It'd
He's
been
still
even-
alive today.
It'd have been even cooler if they'd have been like Joseph's grandfather's here to pick him up, and he got real excited because his grandpa had been dead for a while.
For a long
and he got
time.
out there, and he was
Since
just
the 60s.
He was just heartbroken. He was like, "I thought my granddad was back."
I'll text you. Keep it going. I'm not very good at whispering.
And we are the Player 3 podcast. We get together every Monday to talk about video games, and then we push
Eventually.
this out over to you on youtube.com/Player3 podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher. A lot of you may be wondering,
You mean that guy?
why the world are you not streaming over on Twitch anymore? Because we were having a hard time getting a good solid schedule going. And so this just makes things a little bit easier for us. Not taking streaming completely off the table, but until we can get some kinks worked out, this is kind of how it's going to go. So just be looking out for the episode on YouTube and iTunes and Podbean and all those places on Tuesdays. So, all right. Let's get this week started like we get every week started with the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
Look, you didn't ask me how I'm doing. I was going to be like, awesome, because you gave me this Mirror's Edge pin. So here, I forced it into the podcast where I think it belongs.
Right over his heart.
He just stabbed himself in the heart and he's bleeding from the aorta.
Are you not supposed to fasten it through the heart?
Well, I mean, you now just can't remove it ever.
Well, I mean, I'm dedicated to this game.
Do you like that shirt? Are you dedicated to that shirt?
USA, man, what's better? Nothing. Freedom. America.
You could cut the shirt around the button.
Why would I cut this shirt?
Releasing on both consoles this week. Battleborn is coming out.
Battleborn.
This is the same game as Overwatch, just made by a different group of people.
Larry is
I
super
like the
excited.
group of
And it
people.
doesn't look very good.
I like the group of people.
Yeah, it's made by
But
Gearbox.
MOBA's not my thing, so whatever.
the Bloodborne people. Bloodborne. Borderlands.
Borderlands, yeah.
So made by Gearbox. I don't know. The art style's cool. They chose a really cool song for the very first trailer that they released, but
It just looks slow and clunky to me compared to its twin Overwatch.
yeah, it's like the deformed twin.
Yeah. The slower, lesser twin.
Yeah.
There's always one.
There's always one.
Oh crap! Which one's my wife? My wife's a twin. She's married to me, but her twin brother is like this real strong firefighter. So I'm not gonna make a call here on the podcast on the record.
The first time you told me about your wife, you just started dating and you called me and you start telling me about her and you go, and dude, she's a twin, like kind of suggestively.
I said it was even more because I said, and the hottest part about her, she's a twin. His name's Eric.
And he's a firefighter.
Oh man, the last funny thing I ever said. Then we have Shadow Complex Remaster coming out. Did you guys ever play
Great
the original?
game. Oh
Great
my
game.
goodness, it was so good. I
Tell us
loved
about
it.
it,
I
Ben.
beat it. It was great. It was awesome. It's like a side scroller puzzle game.
It's like a side scroller puzzle game.
kind of. You get
Preets and egg
you
rolls.
pick up loot and whatnot, different items you use to traverse the area. Sometimes you have to use light in areas to open up different places and solve puzzles based off of shadows. It's really cool. I liked it a lot. You're infiltrating. You're like on a hike, and then you're infiltrating this this company that's like underground because your hiking partner goes missing during the hike.
If I had a nickel for every hiking trip I took that wound up in a secret underground government complex.
A side scroller with shadows and light. Was it Heart of Darkness? Remember that game?
No, I've never played it. There's a ninja game that's like that. Can't remember what the name of the ninja game is though.
Ninja
We're
Gaiden.
very knowledgeable about this.
I'm derailing us.
I have played a video game or two in my life.
Seriously though, this game is awesome. Shadow Complex was really good. It was a Xbox arcade game though, back on the 360.
Oh.
So I wonder how they're gonna release it.
So was its
It's coming to both
predecessor?
consoles.
Was its predecessor Oedipus Complex?
Nope.
Was it a direct sequel to Tetris or just sort of related?
Yep.
To which one?
Both. All right, and then on the Xbox One, our games with gold for May are actually live right now. Part of these, at least. Not quite as stellar a lineup as last month's, but we have Defense Grid 2, and then at the second half of the month, Costume Quest 2. Sunset Overdrive is still available through the 15th. Did you download that yesterday, Ben?
No, I haven't.
Have you got
Still got time.
Comcast yet?
Nope.
Wonderful.
I'm gonna do it tonight though.
What, Comcast?
No.
Oh.
Sunset Overdrive. I'm never getting Comcast.
Honesty, finally.
Tommy is in their name.
Comcast.
Copycat.
Someone make a logo for us, a Comcast logo, and we'll have the
It'd be easy,
podcast
man.
next week brought to
It'd
you
be
by
easy.
Comcast.
All you have to do is put the scythe thing in the C of the and make the O a star.
I got you. I got
you got this?
Yeah, dude.
Are we gonna make stickers and put it all over your?
Yeah, we'll make a sticker, put it
And
on
then-
here, and between each topic, we'll just we'll just say that topic brought to you by Comcast. You throw it up.
And then your power, not your
And then
power,
we
but your
won't get
internet
sued
access
at
is
all
just gonna
from
drop.
Comcast won't sue us at all.
They can't. It's a spoof.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, have you had never seen a lame Christian T-shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Can they not cut your
Have
services?
you ever seen a non-lame Christian T-shirt?
There you go.
And then your backwards compatible games are going to be Grid 2 and Peggle, which is a little
Arcade game.
I am
arcadey
pretty
puzzle
pumped
game.
for Costume Quest 2.
I've always been interested.
Yeah, I actually have been too. I
I have
feel
no
like you
idea what
said
it
that
is.
sarcastic.
I did. What is it?
You play as like kids on Halloween night, and you do these little quests as different. You're dressed in different costumes. Costume quest.
And what's
It's
my favorite
actually
day of the year?
2. So Costume Quest 2.
Halloween.
January 2nd.
I am excited now.
And then releasing on PS4, I wanted to just read the description of this game because it's also a Vita game. It's a PS4 game as well. And I think I may get this because I got $10 left on my account here. It's called Neverending Nightmares. It says, experience true psychological horror as you explore nightmares inspired by the creator's struggle with depression and OCD. The defenseless protagonist must avoid monstrous manifestations of what haunts his subconscious. All right. I'm going to start that over, that sentence. The defenseless protagonist must avoid monstrous manifestations of what haunts his subconscious in his quest to wake up into reality. Sounds pretty interesting.
Defenseless. So you just have to defend by using this candle, possibly?
Yeah, it's probably like a lot of different survival horror kind of things where it's more about avoiding the monsters and then, pooping your pants when you're laying in bed.
What was that really cool,
White Knight.
Yeah, man. That looked beautiful.
Yeah, and that game was pretty creepy. It was really well done atmospherically and jump wise. I don't know who this is made by or anything, but the box art looks good and the description's good, which is more than you can say about a lot of the things that they put on the drop. And then your PlayStation Plus Instant Collections, you have Tropico 5, which is a strategy game. They should be available on Tuesday. And then Tabletop Racing, World Tour, and Switch Galaxy Ultra. Those are your 3 games. There was a leaked image that came out that suggested that May's games were going to be like Watch Dogs and Tetris Ultimate or something like that, and I was real excited about that. But I'll probably try out Tropico. You like strategy games.
Isn't it like Civilization?
Yeah, it's very similar.
More or less like that Civilization game I had for the 360.
Which was...
It was very unlike the rest of them, though.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Was that the one where like Gandhi would like nuke people?
Yes. But it was very much a different style than like the PC version.
So super rooted in reality. And those are your releases of the week.
Releases of the week.
Look, nuke
I
works
wanted
just
to
the
not
same
say
for
it. I wanted you to
pacifist as
clap.
it does for a
That's
non-pacifist.
very true. That's very true. We're starting to we're going to get into that time of year here. Like May is a pretty busy month. We're going to have Uncharted coming. We have Overwatch coming. We were supposed to have Mirror's Edge coming. That's 2 weeks delayed. We were supposed to have Mighty Number 9. That was like a month delayed. But yeah, we'll start to have a little steady flow of games.
Supposed to have
Coming
DNX.
That game flow.
All right, let's move on to topics.
Zopics, yeah, we got some Zopics for you.
All right, Diz,
What's up?
kick us off.
Oh, man. Mine's going to be real quick. But we were just talking about...
kind of cool.
What?
Quick.
You sound like one of those like sticks, and there's a thing inside.
You just talked about that the other day.
Yeah, that's cool.
What are those called? Do those have a name?
They're
Moo
moose
sticks.
Moose sticks.
Yeah.
That was too far into the front of your mind. Was that what the conversation was about? Was what those were called?
I made a noise at the church, and he was like, "Hey, you sound like one of those sticks."
And you were like, "What sticks?" And then you Googled it, and you found
No.
out they were called moose
I
sticks.
knew they were moose sticks because when I was a kid, we went to Pigeon Forge every summer, and I'd have to buy like 3 of them at a time.
It's like the rainmakers or whatever they're called, the ones that has the beads in it, but this has like a little cork in it that when it would go down, the air comes out of the holes at the top and it goes. Bleh.
Interesting.
Yes, it's a cheap toy with a lot of money attached to
A
it.
lot of fun. And llamas.
All right, tell us about your topic.
All right, so we were already talking about Battleborn. I'm not really too into it, but it has to do with the creators of Borderlands. And as most people know, Borderlands is very close to my heart. If I had a pin of Borderlands, I would
Jam it.
jam it deep into my my chest.
Your aorta.
Mm-hmm. But Borderlands 3 has been confirmed. I'm super excited about that. It's really not so much a topic as I just want to kind of fanboy about it. The pre-sequel kind of just fizzled out. It was made by 2K in Australia, so it was a little bit different. Like the
It was a
humor
little bit
different.
backwards, like the way the toilets flush down there and
Exactly.
the Coriolis effect.
It just wasn't. It didn't have the feel. So I'm incredibly excited about this to get kind of the same humor, the same intensity of it. And the next thing is that they finally have a writer for the Borderlands movie. Now, I'm very confused by this, and I kind of just like want to ask questions about it.
Asking all them questions.
This is a very cartoony, incredibly violent, over-the-top kind of game. How are they going to make a movie of this? Like, is it going to be CGI? Is it going to be live action? Can you see that being live action?
I don't see it being live action. If anything, I see it keeping that same kind of art style.
The cell shading?
But I also see it sucking.
Absolutely.
Being
it's
Sin
like,
City-esque.
huh?
Being Sin City-esque.
No,
I don't know about that.
that's too gritty. Borderlands isn't gritty.
Well, not so much the lighting and the darkness and whatnot, but just the...
Number one, this is mostly an audio podcast. Number two, even if it was a video podcast, you're not on the camera. He just went like
know.
this.
They know.
I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
They know.
But I don't think it will be a cell shading thing because when you look at Borderlands, the cell shading doesn't scream, high quality movie graphics. So I think it's going to be, they're going to do a mixture of maybe a little bit of live action, but mostly CGI, just to get the craziness.
I think this
across.
is going to be one of those, like, if a tree falls in the forest, though. Like, if you make a movie in a certain style and nobody goes and watches it, did the movie ever really happen? Does it really have an art style? I just don't see this being something that's going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't really move it into that live action because Borderlands is so over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And in animation, it would be hard to make an animated movie that's geared towards like that adult audience like that, and it not feel like something that should have just been released straight to DVD. Like, is this going to be a full-on like theater release?
I assume so. This is as far as we've gotten. Just the screenwriters ready to
J.J.
roll.
Abrams is going to direct it.
I'm betting this winds
No,
up.
J.J. Abrams is not going to direct it.
I'm betting this winds up in development hell. We never see it.
Oh yeah.
Silent
Yeah, because I
Hills.
can't think of many video game movies that were good, let alone successful.
Well, and I also don't see a movie on here that this guy wrote that was good.
True.
Like G.I. Joe 3.
I didn't even know there was a third one until I read this article.
They wrote the script for the in development spy thriller, Section 6.
Yeah. All right. Interesting.
But that was pretty much it because we have a big topic pretty soon, so I didn't want to take a lot of time. But
All
I'm
right.
excited about the video game, and we'll see if the movie even happens.
Yeah. Yeah, you missed it last week. We had a big Diz kind of show, like a Diz-centric show, and you weren't here.
Oh.
Because you were too busy, like, trying to be like, Dad, you don't have to run away from me. I already live away from you. You're running away and getting closer to me, Dad. Why are you doing
You're getting
this?
closer to me as you run. He's so directionally challenged.
All right, the big topic for this week is about the Nintendo NX. This is mine and Larry's topic, all rolled up into one big sushi roll.
Sushi or Shushimi.
So the Nintendo has just announced that their mysterious new console, the Nintendo NX, will release globally March 2017.
That's not far.
I'm reading this article over from Sharon Kuhn on Twinfinite. The announcement accompanied Nintendo's annual financial results, along with the news that The Legend of Zelda Wii U will be releasing on the NX as well. The Wii U version will be delayed until March, allowing for both versions to release at the same time. Nintendo later tweeted that The Legend of Zelda will be their focus at E3 2016. Quote, for our dedicated video game platform business, Nintendo is currently developing a gaming platform codenamed NX with a brand new concept. End quote, the report reads. No further details on the system were made available. We'll keep you updated on any upcoming details.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah. That's the point of the show.
I don't know about this because when I played Shadow of Mordor, they took the game and they downscaled it to be for the 360. So now they're taking the Zelda game and they're taking it from the Wii U and upscaling it. Like, that doesn't make me...
Oh, wait,
they were releasing it for Wii U, but they're delaying it as they're making it for the NX. That says to me that maybe the NX doesn't have this great, like, that it's much stronger, much better than the Wii U. If it's just like, hey, let's just upscale it versus making it, just forgetting about the Wii U and making it as best as they can on the NX.
I think, number one, they can't just say, let's forget about the Wii U on this, because so many people have been looking forward to this game for 3 years now. Like, this game has constantly been pushed back. And so I would have to imagine that the developers probably have units, like NX units, to build this game on already, and they're probably fleshing out what the NX version of this game is going to look like. So, like Shadow of Mordor was missing some of those elements on PS3 and Xbox 360, like the Nemesis system and stuff. I think we'll probably see that same thing. So, go ahead. You look like you're...
That makes me uncomfortable because Nintendo is already leaps and bounds behind the other systems. And my big hope was that they were going to finally catch up, maybe. And if this game's still going to run on Wii U capabilities, I wonder if they're really not going to jump that far ahead. They're still just going to stay behind in that regard.
But we also have to remember this is just one game. Like, and it's a game that's been in development for a while. So I don't think The Legend of Zelda is really going to be the indicator of what this machine's capable of, per se.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but when I think of Nintendo, I don't think, that they focus so much on capability and power and all this stuff as much as they just try to do something very innovative and creative in their just platform period.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that they would possibly be focusing more on the peripheral versus its capability, and I guess that's a major appeal, but really not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather have capability.
Yeah, and I mean, it always worries me, and we're moving into some wild speculation.
Wild speculation!
Which is what all this is, because the Nintendo NX, like, no details have been announced about this thing. The thing that always worries me is when people say things like, quote, brand new concept, end quote, as if they are going to reinvent the wheel or something like that. And we've talked about it on this podcast before, how the Wii really kind of knocked it out of the park in terms of like something that you buy for the novelty of it with the motion controls of the Wii. But we've also talked about how quickly that died out and how the Wii had the worst attachment rate for software of any console that's ever released, because people just bought it to play Wii Sports and didn't play anything else on it. Because you had all these like awful versions of regular titles of games that just tried to implement motion controls.
I tried to play Call of Duty on that thing, and it was unplayable.
How? How do you do that?
Did they have the blaster?
I mean, it would have been easier if I had that attachment, but I just had a Wiimote like moving through.
Oh gosh,
Gross.
yeah, that's awful.
And when somebody tries to take your gun, you gotta like wrestle it. That was kind of cool, but the rest of it was just awful.
Yeah. So whenever I see really anyone talk as if like, oh, we're gonna do something totally new, I don't really care what realm of like the world we're talking about here. I always start to worry that like, all right, you think pretty highly of what you're doing, but is anybody else going to? It's kind of like declaring something to be good. Like, you can't declare something you made to be good. Someone else has to declare it to be good for it to actually be like legitimately good. And so for the NX to be like, this is this brand new concept that, and like to say it as if it's this thing that's going to revolutionize gaming, that's not really Nintendo's call, because they already tried to revolutionize it twice with the Wii that had successful sales but ultimately fizzled out, and then with the Wii U and the tablet the tablet controller that never even started to gain any traction. Sony made more this quarter than Nintendo has in the entire Wii U life cycle,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy. So,
That controller's a pain.
yeah, and it's like, can we put a screen from 2004 on this thing? Like, the screen's so bad on it. You played with it this weekend, Ben. And did you look at that screen?
No.
And how low it's super low.
Well,
res.
I mean, I watched a little bit, but I did as little as I could to look at the screen. I wanted to look at my brand new TV.
So, what do we think Nintendo needs to do to get this right? What do we want the NX to be? This is just a general discussion about Nintendo in the future.
First off, what's up with Blue Link? Come on, Green Link. Seriously, I wanted to get my
Zelda.
no nonsense.
Oh my gosh. I think they're just relying on. It seems to me like they're going to be relying on the old standby of let's capture the kid audience, and I'm sure they'll continue to be able to exist on that. But I would just like something more. I want to play a good Nintendo game. I say this all the time. Like, give me a gritty, awesome Metroid game with voice acting. I'd play that for days. Literally days.
If I'm being super honest about the NX, what I would really love to see it do is a little bit better of what the Wii U is already doing. I know that sounds weird. Yeah, because I like the graphical capabilities maybe be a little better. Maybe have the online be a little better. But I always view Nintendo as like a family group console, like group games. Like we had a ton of fun on that 12-hour stream we did playing Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and stuff. And I really don't care if they ever do anything that's super ingenuitive, whatever the word is for that.
Ingenuitive.
With the console.
Commicast. Ingenuitive.
Because they do like couch co-op so well. And I think to stick in that, like they need to stay there and not worry so much about being competing with Xbox and PlayStation's online and their, I guess, intense single player campaign games.
You say that, but you also haven't bought one.
Well, I would love to buy one. My wife is a constricting factor to that.
Oh, okay.
But you make a really good point here. Like, is it going to be possible at this point for Nintendo to really compete in the same venues that PlayStation and Xbox do really well in, which is what people want the Nintendo to do? Like give us a really solid online experience where there's voice chat in games and where there's all these different things we come to expect in Microsoft's and Sony consoles. Give us that in the Nintendo. Is there the time? Is there the space? Is there the patience for Nintendo to work out those kinks? Because, I mean, think back to the original days of Xbox Live. Think back to the original days of Sony's online stuff. And think about how limited and unstable that was. Is Nintendo in a position where they can take that kind of a risk with the NX and succeed even if those things take a little bit of time to work out the kinks?
They've already started, kind of. They have a really crappy online, so...
But we're talking about adding a whole lot of features in a very short amount of time. Let's get voice chat in here. Let's get a friend system that makes some semblance of sense. Let's get rid of these avatars. These what are they called? The Miis. Let's get rid of these Miis that really kind of kidify the online experience in and of itself. And figure out a way to create a more adult, mature profile on these. I just don't know if they have the good. It's crazy to think with it being Nintendo. I just don't think they have the goodwill of the fans enough to be able to do those things and mess them up in the early on and be able to recover from it.
I don't think they're going to attempt that because from my experience and my limited knowledge of Nintendo, the things they try to focus to do is bringing people together all at once, like in a room. So I don't see them working very much for an online thing.
And online's not even something that I particularly care about with them. Like, I just want Like, I'm not gonna buy one of their systems while they're still cranking out games that are just graphically unimpressive. And graphics aren't the most important thing to me, but they matter a little bit. And the fact that they're still cranking out games that I've got to read text, they can't even hire a voice actor and put voice in their games. Are you kidding me? I hate that about that console. And and I love couch co-op, and I'm a big fan of that. But I think that they can do that and still produce some games with a story worth telling that's told in a way that's worth watching and listening to.
Right. Well, and if the direction of Sony and Microsoft has taught us anything, it's that couch co-op experience is a very kind of niche market. And if that's going to be your forte, you have to understand that there's a ceiling that's attached to that. And so if Nintendo wants to exist in this, we exist to bring people together in the same room in a world where 95% of people are connecting digitally and via the internet, then they have to recognize that their ceiling exists in the 5% of people who just want split screen co-op, and then the X amount of percentage of people among the 95% who wouldn't mind having that as a side. But it just feels like the NX is always going to be the second console for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll have. And again, this is all speculation. We don't know anything about the NX, but like if Nintendo continues on this trajectory, like I feel like the Wii U is very few people's primary console. They're like, I'm playing on the Xbox One and I own this Wii because I like Smash Brothers, or I'm playing on PlayStation, but man, Splatoon's a whole lot of fun, or whatever. Like, and what I need to see from them most out of this, well, two things. Number one, I need to see them care about third-party stuff. And that story we had a few months ago that came out saying that Nintendo just doesn't care about that. They make it as hard as possible for people to get these units. Scares me with the NX. Like when we're what seems like less than a year out from launch, and so let's say we were 13 months out when we talked about that story, there were third-party developers who still had not seen what the NX was. Not only had they not seen it, but they had no idea what was running inside of this console, this machine. And so I need to see this third-party support from them. And then I need to see them take some risks in their first-party IP and say, well, we are going to bring back Metroid, and we're going to make a grittier version of it, or we're gonna make a fleshed out kind of adult Zelda game where Link isn't just the silent protagonist; he's this character that we can flesh out, and we can create a Skyrim experience on our console. Create these things that are going to get people who have the disposable income to pay for them to come to your console, rather than relying simply on the kids that are like, well, we just want to play Mario or Mario Kart or whatever.
I get that they've been able to rely on Mario and all those games for a while, but I just don't know how sustainable that is in the long term. Like, how many consoles can you crank out that just rely on Mario?
Well, this will be the last one, if they do. I mean, and I think that's just the fact of the matter. Another question for you guys. They are not going to show the NX at E3. Good move, bad move, and why?
I think bad move. Because there are so many doubts about it, and it may be a good move for the reason that it is a bad move. And what I mean by that is, I'm afraid that they don't have anything to show, enough to show yet, if that makes sense. And this could be a time to put some of those questions to bed, and I don't think they can.
I think it's a good move because I'm still holding out for the fact that they do have some sort of peripheral that's different, that's innovative. Like I don't see them passing up this chance of getting some sort of VR, or even making that screen more of a what do you call, like when you leave your house and you're still playing those games,
like a handheld remote play,
like a remote play, exactly, or an ability to plug in your DS games into the a controller and play it on your TV. Like, I'm holding out that they're going to have something interesting, so they just don't want to give it up yet.
I think it's a good move too, and the reason for it is because I think at both Sony and Microsoft's we're going to get new hardware announced, whether it's the PS4.5, the Xbox One and a half, or whatever they're going to call it. Like the rumors, because rumors resurfaced this week of an upgraded Xbox One, and so I think Nintendo recognizes, like, okay, we are last out of the gate, but obviously we're going to have our stuff planned and ready to go before Sony and Microsoft go. What happens if the PS4.5 gets announced and holy crap, the NX specs aren't up to it? And like, let's give ourselves the opportunity to distance ourselves from it if that's the truth, so we can kind of control that narrative, so that it's not like, well, the PS4 because I mean I can just see it now. I work for a website. I know what that article looks like. It says it just reads comparing the specs of PS4.5, Xbox One and a half, and Nintendo NX, and Nintendo doesn't need anything to hurdle their way, and so if they can give themselves 3-4 months, because I mean we had the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One announced in June of 2013. They released in November of 2013. Like, they don't need a whole lot of space to kind of get that machine rolling. And you can go too far out to where, number one, people don't care when March comes around. Mm-hmm. Or you give people too much space to nitpick about things. Where, you know, let's say you announce this thing in October, pre-order through the holidays, so people can gift like the pre-order, like, hey, open this box, you have a receipt, you've got the NX or whatever. And then, you know, people aren't saying, well, there's only 6 launch titles, or there's only this, or this peripheral doesn't make sense, or this is going to outpace it, it doesn't have virtual reality. Like, just condense the space that conversation can happen in.
You convinced me. And another angle to it, what if they do release some really cool peripheral, and like people are really excited about it, the other consoles are going to try to kind of hit that as well, and with that much space, they could preemptively do it.
Mm-hmm. And you really need E3 to justify why people need to buy a Wii U, because there's tons of brand new Wii U's out there sitting on shelves, and I've already been super interested in a Wii U, and I said there's literally no reason. There's absolutely no reason to buy a Wii U. This console is only 4 years old. This next console is coming out. Nintendo will lose all goodwill with their fans if the Wii U games are not backwards compatible on the NX. There's no reason to buy this thing until we know what the NX is. And so if they come out and the NX isn't backwards compatible, okay, well, you pissed off the 11 million people that have bought your Wii U. But you've incentivized people like Ben who want to play these games, play Smash Brothers, play Mario Kart, play Bayonetta, play
Pokken Tournament. Pokken Tournament.
Play these things to go and buy a Wii U and to move those things off the shelf. So it's one of those, like, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of deal, where if you make this thing backwards compatible, all of a sudden no Wii U is getting sold to anyone who keeps up with anything. But if it's not backwards compatible, yeah, you may sell some Wii U's, but you're also going to make everybody who owns these games mad.
And, I mean, this is the route they had to go anyway, though. There's no way the Wii U is going to carry them through for much longer either way. Yeah. So it is what it is. So do you think they'll have any kind of showing worth watching at E3?
They never do.
True story.
I mean, and I don't know if they're going to do a direct or if it's going to be live or what they're going to do, but like Nintendo's got to figure out how to communicate with their fans because they just do such a poor job of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big, like, I feel like there's probably going to be this real big marketing turnover for the NX to get this all worked out, to figure out how to talk to your fans. Because some people don't even know what the Wii U is. Like, I work at GameStop now. Like, we sell more Wii stuff than we sell Wii U stuff, and it's pretty insane. Like, just because there's 100 million Wiis out there, and there's 10% of that in Wii U's in the market,
which is crazy to me.
I mean, all of the stuff we've been talking about with the PS4.5 and the idea of like it being kind of a big middle finger to your fan base. How much bigger a middle finger is it to say, hey, we know you guys bought these things, 3-4 years ago, and we're going to just launch an entirely new console because you're the only people that have made it financially viable for us to make another console, but we're just going to leave you out in the dust, in a significantly shorter amount of time than any other console life cycle. And to push the one game people have been excited about further and further back to where the NX people are going to get it now too.
Well, it's upsetting, but once again, what else could they do? It's either they ride this into the dirt or they make this one last effort.
Yeah.
And I think I think most Nintendo fans I know are like fiercely loyal. I don't see a lot of them being upset that there's already going to be a new system.
That's true.
Unless, like you're saying, they don't make this backwards compatible. I think that will kill it.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts before we move on?
The storms are brewing.
We're under a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't.
Lose power.
Yeah. All right, those were your topics for this week.
Zopics, we got no more Zopics for you.
I like when we have big kind of general news like that, and we can just kind of talk about direction, because this E3 is perhaps going to be the most interesting E3 I've ever witnessed. Even more interesting than PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. We all knew like new consoles were coming, but this may be new consoles are coming to make everybody mad. So it's going to be very, very interesting. All right, let's move on to the news.
News with the podcast guys.
All right, first item on the list comes from Sean Tim over at Twinfinite. Dark Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki says that Dark Souls is over. And while he was speaking about future DLC, he said, quote, "What is certain for now is, to me personally, Dark Souls is over. So rather than make another sequel, I think it's time we take a step to a new direction. Development of a new IP has already begun," end quote. So we had Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. We had Bloodborne. We had Demon Souls before all of that. And now that franchise is over. And a beloved franchise, in fact, by a lot of people.
The trilogy is complete. I'm okay with that because at least they didn't keep it going until they drove it into the ground.
Like another game we'll talk about later. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Dark Souls is going to continue. Like, the spirit of Dark Souls is going to continue. We're still going to get these horribly difficult roguelike games, but it's this model of a game that transitions so well into all kinds of different territory. They learned that with Bloodborne, put it in a Victorian era rather than, I don't even know how to describe the Dark Souls era, like medieval kind of feel. So, but Ben's computer's about to die.
I was trying to be discreet about it.
It's pretty discreet.
Dude, we don't care. This podcast is on fire generally.
This podcast's on fire.
I like when things end. Even good things. All good things must end.
Burn out, not fade away.
That's right. And you be the decider of it. You know?
Yeah. I listened to the last episode of We're Alive. It was very satisfying. I'm glad they're not still making them. Even though there's a part of me that wanted more, but the right storytelling thing to do was to end it.
Is there a franchise? Obviously we're going to talk. Let's talk outside of the gaming space. Is there a franchise that you're like, man, they kept that going entirely too long, or is there one that you think, man, that they did that really well in timing their ending?
Anything outside of
anything?
The first one's definitely the Fast and Furious movies. Those need to stop.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Those need to stop.
yeah.
I think you and I have talked about this before. I think Psych started to dance into that territory.
Mm-hmm.
They announced in season 7, I think it was, that they were going to be wrapping up the next season, and you and I were real sad about it. But then when season 8 started, we got into it like, all right, yeah, it's
time.
It's time.
And then they wrapped it up perfectly.
Yeah.
And they left it kind of open for if they wanted to do like a movie or like a little mini series to follow them into another place. But yeah, that was going to be on my list of things that did it well. The Harry Potter series, I think, did it incredibly well. J.K. Rowling saying, "This is Harry Potter's story," and then kind of just shutting the book completely on it with the last chapter of the 7th book being this time jump to the future where like, okay, well, I've taken all the suspense out of like, will any of these main characters die between now and when they have kids that they send off to Hogwarts or whatever. And like, so she was very intentional about it and really kind of slammed the door shut on a future for those characters at least.
And I think what she's doing now is doing it right. Like years later, people still want more. All right, let's tell a different story in that universe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm totally fine with that just in about anything,
Yeah.
Like we don't always have to keep up with the same characters. We can tell the same different stories in the same universe. As far as doing it poorly, and this is going to sound weird, but the Walking Dead TV show for me is something that, I mean, and I'm not just saying this because of the disappointment I felt with the season finale, but like in that in the last season and a half, really, it kind of feels like the same thing.
Yeah.
over and over, like the same kind of story arcs over and over.
And they clearly just have episodes that they're just making episodes to make episodes.
Fillers.
They're not telling the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's what it really comes down to. Are you going to tell a story well, or are you dragging it out for some more cash money flow?
Yeah. Do you have a series that does it not so well? So
trying to
Diz has
think.
Fast and Furious and The Walking Dead. Do you have any, Ben?
No, not really.
No, I love it. I love everything.
I do. I'm real easygoing, man.
Supernatural.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've talked to me about this.
Yeah, I loved that show. I've been watching that show since it came on the air. I'm like all about some horror stuff. I loved how it started, Monster of the Week deal. But really, every CW series hits this point where it's doing what The Walking Dead does and just tells the same story over and over again. Supernatural is just each season it alternates which brother has screwed up and lied to the other, and eventually they have to clean up the mess. And in season 10, they had like this big celebratory episode, and there was this big interview, and they're like, we're going to keep making them as long as people keep wanting them. And I'm like, well, your storytelling is just getting progressively worse, so you should probably stop while you're on top.
Yeah, working to when people stop asking for it is like you have automatically given up all control of your narrative.
I've got one.
Okay.
Firefly.
It lasted way too long. I agree. Gosh. All right, I'm gonna get my nipples out now. Oh,
What?
I was scared. I thought it was the last moment of my life. My nipples would have been on YouTube.
That's the goal.
All right, next item on. So good on you, Miyazaki, to see that a good thing has come to an end.
It's run its course.
I was about to mention a game that I remember when I talk about games.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have done 8 more Harry Potter movies though. Just saying.
I mean, I don't watch more Harry Potter, but I'm okay when somebody says this is our story. This is when we told it.
Yeah.
Oxenfree is launching on the PS4 on May 31st with some new features. This is over on Twinfinite as well, I believe. I'm not exactly positive. Yes. Written by Tom Hopkins. Part of my writing team.
Written by John Hopkins. Wow.
Huh?
Nothing.
Game creator Sean Crankle, quote, "We've added all kinds of improvements to push the experience beyond anything the public has seen yet, including transforming your DualShock 4 into the game's supernatural radio via the controller's speaker and light bar. But the most thrilling addition is the creation of a surreal New Game Plus mode that will continue Alex's story with a new purpose," end quote. That's also, the New Game Plus part's also coming to the Xbox One. First of all, I love Oxenfree.
I loved watching you play Oxenfree.
Fantastic game. But
Excellent.
It is one of those games you don't particularly have to play. Like, you can just go watch somebody play it. But so if you're even on the fence about this game, it's not going to be expensive, probably going to be $15-20. Go buy it. It's good. It's a great game. I always find it a little odd when a game releases another version on to a different console, and that version is better than the version that people got before. Now, this feature with the light bar and the speaker stuff, like that couldn't have been on the Xbox, obviously.
There were some other things mentioned though too, weren't there? Am I wrong?
I think so. Let me see.
I'm sorry.
But the New Game Plus thing's awesome. It's going to tell a little bit more story about the main character there. The internet's being super slow for some reason. Did they mention new things? Blah, blah, blah. A dynamic theme, but that's it.
All right, I misread. My bad. My B.
Yeah, it's all good. But anyway, but yeah, pick up this game, play this game. It's going to be a good game.
Absolutely.
It already is a good game.
It is. And there's no way the controller thing will ruin it, so it'll be even a better game.
I love the use of that speaker, and I'm going to give a quick review of Alienation at the end of the podcast. But Housemarque, the people that make Alienation, they made Resogun and all these different kind of arcade style games. They make great use of that built-in speaker with like whether it's instructions or the sound of what you're doing in your hand, like when you're reloading, it'll make the reloading sounds or whatever. And I really appreciate that kind of stuff. And it's like this really low quality speaker that's inside of it. So for it to be this old time radio thing, it's gonna be real awesome.
And that's something I'll throw some good things toward Nintendo since I've been just bashing them all episode. But that's something I always appreciated about their controller was I loved the use of the little speaker inside of it. It's neat.
Oh, you're good, man. Come on in. We're about to move to the next topic. All right, next item on the list: the shipment of Uncharted 4 was stolen, and Shuhei Yoshida has officially responded. This is over on Twinfinite. From scroll up real quick, Ben. Keep going.
Now, if
Shy Anna Perez, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shay Anna Perez.
if there was ever a game that it was kind of funny that it got stolen.
Okay, it is a little ironic. I'll give you that. All right. It says, we have some unfortunate news to report that a number of copies of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End were stolen while in transit. While we are continuing to work with the police to resolve the matter, which is the subject of an ongoing criminal investigation, it appears that a few copies of the game have surfaced in the UK. By the way, this is Shuhei Yoshida in a statement. Continue, quote, we know that very many of you have been looking forward with great anticipation and excitement to the latest masterpiece for Naughty Dog. From what I have played of Nathan Drake's latest adventure, I can tell you that it is very much worth the wait. Spoiler alert. Just kidding. As with most Naughty Dog games, the unfolding story is such an integral part of the experience, and for this reason we wanted to warn you to be aware of the potential for spoilers to be posted by people with access to stolen copies of the game. An extremely talented team has worked long and hard to bring Nathan Drake's greatest adventure to life, and we would urge you to help us prevent this from being spoiled by purchasing copies of the game ahead of the launch date. Please rest assured we will be very vigilant to protect you from this as far as we can so you can enjoy Uncharted 4's experience to its fullest on May 10th.
These dudes also have those amiibos, don't they?
That was the exact thought that I had when I read this story. We have a video game pirates over in Europe somewhere.
God.
Stealing trailerfuls of video games and video game merchandise.
I want to know how this happens. Like, I hope it's like something epic, like in a TV show when they steal a truck. Like they rode up on motorcycles and like jumped onto it and threw a guy out. But probably the driver went to the restroom and
It's like a train robbery.
yeah.
It's got to be an inside job. That was my thought. And obviously, this probably isn't connected to the amiibo thing. But I can imagine like some guy running a truck, like driving a truck of these things, being like, "Oh crap! I'm getting paid 20 fake shekels an hour because he's over in Europe,
Right.
And so I can make 10 times that just off
Monopoly
the
money.
sale of the games of this truck. Maybe I'll just go rogue, sell these things off. Although they probably have some sort of log of who's driving what.
Well, maybe he pretends to be thieved. And he has to split his cut with his partner, but later they'll find the body of one of them after the betrayal.
Dun dun dun.
Dead men tell no tales. Piracy.
What if Naughty Dog's next game is about the truck thief?
Then a lot of people waiting for The Last of Us 2 will be very disappointed.
It's all just guerrilla marketing right now. No, nothing's being stolen. They're just getting you hype.
And the guy being killed is the end of The Thief. The title of the
Neil
Uncharted
Druckmann
4.
also responded. One of the creators of Uncharted 4 responded just to warn about spoilers as well. Let's shift this to a bit of a serious conversation about this.
Okay.
Because I do get frustrated by stories like this for two reasons. Number one, these people have worked long and hard on this game, and people are anticipating it for a long, long time. And just like with with Fallout, when people were getting it early and they were tweeting out, they were messaging people spoilers like on Reddit and stuff in just one sentence, or with Star Wars or something like that. In a studio, especially like Naughty Dog, that's so narrative driven and is so invested in that story, that probably the greatest thing against them that you can do is spoil what they have taken so long to craft. And if more, and this is going to sound extreme, but if more and more things like this begin to happen, and companies can't trust, like these developers and publishers can't trust, distributors and retailers to be able to deliver these products in a way where these kind of compromises aren't going to happen, it's going to drive publishers to be like, well, maybe digital only is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because
You can't steal a truckload of those.
How many games do you think you are on this trailer?
Oh gosh.
Hundreds of thousands? Possibly. This is a popular game. It's going to sell tens of million copies probably. So at least tens of thousand copies on this truck. And it's like, you can't even protect that shipment. Why? You know? Like, and then the second thing is it makes covering these games super sticky. Like, there's so much stuff about this game coming out that's like, man, people really want to know this. But we also don't want to cover it because it's not, people aren't supposed to know it yet, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes that sort of stuff sticky too. Like, my site, we're not allowed to cover any of the Uncharted stuff that hasn't been officially announced by Naughty Dog at this point. And it's because of stuff like this. And this stuff upsets me a whole lot.
Yeah.
And the wind is getting crazy.
Your trees are
There's a
dancing.
nader out there.
I'm gonna open this window.
Oh gosh.
Ugh. I need to get
This
home.
would be $half size hail.
Oh my goodness.
Nice. All right, next item on the list. The next installment of Call of Duty has been announced. It is called Call of Duty Infinite War. Possibly the worst title of any game in this series or of video games in general.
It's just a precursor to how the game's going to feel.
It's how the series already feels.
Mm-hmm.
And it will ship some versions of it with a remastered version of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare that will have 10 multiplayer maps and a remastered single player with it. You watched the Know Your Enemy trailer, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch the reveal trailer that released today?
No.
You got in just as we were wrapping it up. I wasn't sure what time you were going to get here. It's taking place in space. It looks like Call of Duty Destiny at some points. So speaking of franchises that have probably run their course, Call of Duty, and I'm not talking commercially. The game still sells a whole lot, but just in terms of the universe and the franchise itself. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Let's start with the Infinite Warfare.
The title?
We can just talk about the title. That's fine.
It's lame. What do you mean start with this rather than the...
Yeah, rather than the remaster.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird step. And once again, every year I feel like I get to say this more and more. But back in the day when everyone was like Team Halo or Team COD, it was always, I play Call of Duty because it's the realistic game.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's run its course, but like you said, people are still buying it. They still typically put out a quality multiplayer that people think is fun to play. So, but as far as storytelling, I don't think anyone's cared about the COD story really in years.
And it's not because they haven't had good ones. Like the one with Kevin Spacey,
Mm-hmm.
not a bad game at all. The Black Ops games, people love that the story. But there was something about the gameplay of that they have since lost. Now that they're like, well, we're just going to have mech suits. Now there's just straight up robots in these games, you know?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Diz?
I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, they kind of lost me when they started making it futuristic because I was that person. Like, I liked how it was, like down to earth. It was what war was. And now with the robots and the spaceships, nah, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
This is the second one where we're like a couple years back, we're like, this whatever Call of Duty it was. Well, this is basically Call of Duty Titanfall.
Yeah.
Now this is basically Call of Duty Destiny.
Yeah. And the trailer was awful. Like it shows like some stuff happening on the Earth, and then ground control to Major Tom starts playing, like this really crappy cover of it, and the ships start taking off into space. And it's like, could you have picked a more cliche song to introduce that you're going into space about this thing? Maybe Rocket Man by Elton John. And so they go up into space, then they go on to different planets, and like there's this shot where you can see Saturn in the background as it like goes down this horizon, and it looks exactly like the Venus map, not Venus, the Mercury map on Destiny. It looks exactly like it, and it really just seems like they got together with Bungie and they're like, hey, can we have like some of your art assets and put them in our game too? All right, so Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is getting remastered, 10 maps, like I said, single player campaign. But the only way to get this game is to buy the $80 Legacy Edition of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Well, I guess I won't be playing that.
I was very upset. I was talking to a guy I worked with yesterday, and I was like, if that's the only way to play it, I'll buy it. Because that's how much I love the Modern Warfare game. It'll be interesting to see what 10 maps they have, because there were 20 maps altogether on that Call of Duty game. And I imagine this is going to be one of those things like, hey, 2 months later, oh, we're launching Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the remaster for individual purchase for $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, very Activision move.
I'd buy Modern Warfare, but I don't give any craps about Infinite War or whatever.
Yeah.
Space Call of Duty.
Yeah.
The land that time forgot.
All right.
That's the one.
That was the news, guys.
News with the podcast, guys.
All right. I've got a few games to review. I'm going to save that for next week because the storm is brewing up. We're going to move on to everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week.
Random question of the week for the month. For
That was really high this time.
I don't even know what that was. All right, Diz, it's your random question.
All right, so I don't think we've talked about this before, but if we have, I apologize. Let's do it again.
Oh, there's one got shot in the face.
Okay.
But we were talking a lot about Nintendo systems, and I remember back when the Wii came out, they were like, "Oh, you'll be able to play all these old Nintendo games on there." And I thought it was gonna be so legit, but then you had to get the emulator and all that stuff, and it really wasn't as great as what I thought. But I started to think, man, what are some like really old games from like the Super Nintendo and like the old Sega systems that you would like to see make a comeback? Like my favorite game back in those days was a game called Clay Fighters.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be so fun to see that again. It'd be ridiculous, but I'd like to see that again. And Ben is just glaring at me.
Go ahead. I'm trying to remember the name of mine.
Well, it's Battletoads is the name of yours probably. Isn't it?
Yes.
You're thinking of. Because I want that to come back real bad. Real bad.
Rash is actually a character in this new season for the Killer Instinct game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Along with
Neat.
the Arbiter.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I mean, Rare Replay really helped me. Did you get? That's pay homage to you there, Larry. It really helped me, a little bit fill my nostalgia gap for Battletoads.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd love to see that game come back. Still be like a side scroller, maybe like a arcade edition, or maybe a
Like not even a
Games with Gold.
modern version of it.
I mean not be crappy, not a crappy graphics side scroller, like redo the graphics and everything. Kind of like New Super Mario-esque, but have it be Battletoads, where I could still rip the legs off of robots and beat other people with it, and throw rocks at people, and use space bike gliders to run over my friend with friendly fire. You can't cut friendly fire off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sega Genesis. Toxic Crusaders.
Man.
It was this side-scrolling beat-em-up game where you played as like this green character who could.
It's based on a movie.
Is it?
Hi. Yeah, Toxic Avenger.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I couldn't remember if it was Toxic Avenger or Toxic Crusader, and that may be why. Also, the Aladdin games on Sega were really awesome. I just saw that on the side. Those games were so good.
That was good.
But yeah, Toxic Crusaders would be mine. Or Dr. Robotnik's Mean Green
I
Machine.
also remember the Simpsons time travel game arcade?
I've got it.
Yeah.
That was fun too.
I've got it for SNES.
Streets of Rage on Sega Genesis. I love that game.
I want to see the 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up come back. I think that's what I've determined just now.
Yeah.
It doesn't really even have to be a franchise that like has existed already.
We've all
I don't
determined this.
really give a crap. Although in Streets of Rage, like picking up lead pipes and stuff and being able to beat people over the head with them made me want to do a lot of things when I was 7 years old. Mostly like pick up pipes, and beat people over the head with them.
Look, I've got the trilogy. You need to come over one day and we'll play through it.
I love those games, man. They're so good.
Yeah, it also reminds me. Wasn't there like a really amazing Spider-Man game that was a side-scroll and beat 'em up? They had like Carnage on the front of it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I would always rent that from Peggy's video.
Yeah, the web slinging was basically useless, but it was a fun side-scrolling fighting game anyway.
Now it's got me thinking, what's the last good side-scrolling beat-em up we've ever gotten?
We all want one. Let's just write one.
Let's make a side-scrolling beat-em up.
Who's gonna code it?
Rampage, was that the most recent?
Rampage. Was that the one
64?
with, like, the monsters or
I
I don't know
blowing
if you
up
consider that
buildings?
as
I wouldn't
beat 'em
put
up.
that in the same category. I guess technically it is, but I don't. I think once we hit N64 generation, we didn't really see it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to.
Yeah, I'd also bring back Siphon Filter. It's not as old,
Yeah.
but I really love the Siphon
That was
Siphon
good.
Filter games.
Brilliant.
Larry's got something percolating over there.
I'm just trying to remember. Like I've got like this pile of old games at my house, and I'm like sorting through them in my mind. I keep going. I'm like, well, they're still kind of making Mario games and Donkey Kong games.
That
The
Alien
007 games.
That Zombie Ate My Neighbor's game looked kind of cool.
Yes,
Yeah, that was a great game too. Wait, were you a Sega kid? I thought you were a Nintendo kid.
I had both.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't rich enough
Rich.
to have both.
Divorced parents competing for my affection.
Competing for my love.
So which one got you the Nintendo? Because that's
my dad.
that's the one who won.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
You be quiet over there. All right, let's wrap it up. Go
Wait.
around the circle here. Let's get out of here.
Okay, let's do it.
Larry, who are you?
I'm Larry. I'm on Twitter at LayerHuntsZombies. LARHUNTS Zombies. That's all you get.
I'm Diz. I don't do much on social media or anything like that, but I do get on Xbox Live to play Minecraft. Granny Hand Grenade.
And my name is Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch and on Xbox Live at Download a Hoagie. Also, go on Facebook, type in Lucas Croft, and find my writing page. Follow it. You can keep up with everything I wrote. Wrote an article last week about the last game to release on every single console. The Atari Jaguar had a game released 20 years after the console itself was released.
Impressive.
So you can go check out some more fun facts in that article over there. Lucas Croft on Facebook, and it'll bring up my writing page. Go like that. So, all right, we are the Play 3 Podcast over here on YouTube.com/Play3Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher. Leave us a review, please. Let us know how we're doing
And we'll read it.
or how attractive Larry is.
On the
read it
show.
out on the podcast. For Larry, for Diz, for Ben, I'm Luke Croft, and this was the Player 3 Podcast.
Player 3 Podcast!
P3P. Hit that stop recording button. Today's telephone number, 276-734